This may not work. Welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. So Levi's gonna do a couple more trips back to the greenhouse. There's actually a lot of stuff that needs to be done this time of year. The seasonal transitions from spring and summer into fall and winter can be a little bit chaotic. We're getting ready for fall planting, we're getting ready for fall kidding, and we also need to kind of prep for our meat season. So here on our homestead, instead of raising chicken for white meat or really any other poultry, we raise rabbits. I really enjoy breeding and raising rabbits for meat. They're a breeze to butcher and they're just a joy to have. We take a break in the summer from breeding just because it's really hot here. It's stressful on our big bodied does, and plus we have enough going on with the gardens where we don't really have to deal with meat processing at that time because we managed to get quite a bit processed during the fall and winter. These are Californian meat rabbits here, and I am going to be breeding some of these guys to non-meat rabbits, hoping to get a little bit of color variation in the pelts because I'm starting to use those for some pretty fun crafty things. So I've got this transport crate here. This was actually a show crate that was given to me when I purchased all of those does over there, and so each one of them is going to get a cubby hole and we're going to tote them over to the boys. So I put the does in here in the order that they appear in the barn. So this is the doe that's all the way towards the milking stall and then all the way towards the door. And so I'm going to breed them in that same order. So funny thing, rabbits do not always breed like rabbits, and it's very common for us to experience kind of reluctance to breed at the very start of our breeding season. It's kind of common for rabbits to really decrease in their desire to have babies as the days get shorter. They're kind of like chickens in that way, where chickens either stop or really slow down in their laying during the winter, most of the breeds. Same thing is kind of true for rabbits, except for they don't lay eggs. I do have a light inside my rabbitry, which it's time for me to turn on. It's September. I keep the light on, coming on in the morning to extend their daylight hours from about September through March, which is our breeding season. That helps, I guess, maybe like chickens, activate their pituitary gland and get them in a more, I guess, breeding mood. Because all the girls are with their boys, and I have not seen any successful breeding. What you'll see with rabbits is they'll do what's called a fall off, and it's quite dramatic. You'll know it when you see it. A couple of these boys, this is actually their first experience, and sometimes that can be a little bit much for them as well. So this may not work today, but this is the start of our breeding season, and we're gonna keep trying. See, just because you see mounting doesn't mean you've had success. So that's not a successful breeding over there. Rabbits are only pregnant for 30 days before they kindle, which is the rabbit term for giving birth. And so if it takes us a couple weeks to get them all bred, it's really not a big deal. It's not long before we have babies. All right, so here's our new LED light. I've just got it zip tied to the chicken wire right here, and the cord goes through, comes down here, and it's actually attached to this timer. These are really handy. You can set them to come on at a certain time and go off at a certain time. You could even toggle this over here. So with rabbits, you kind of want to time it like you would time it for chickens. You want to have about 16 hours a day, 14 to 16 hours a day of daylight, even if it's artificial, to help keep them in the breeding mood or the reproduction type mood. So right now I have that light coming on at 4 a.m. Sunrise is about 7 a.m. here, or where the decent amount of light is coming into the barn at about 7 a.m. And then we're seeing sunset around 7 p.m. So I'm allowing them about 15 hours at that point. There's a whole bunch of things that a lot of people will try to get their rabbits to breed. I've heard that people will use black oil sunflower seed to try to get them in the breeding mood. They'll put apple cider vinegar in their water. All the things I'm sure are great to try. I've tried them all, and for me, the light works best. So what I'll do is put the girls back for now. We will keep trying to breed, and eventually we'll get some success. It won't take very long. Hello. Okay, so we are back in the greenhouse doing a little bit more clean out. So today is the day that we really deal with some tomatoes. I have quite a few red ones, and our orange accordion is the proper color. That is very exciting. But see, there's some red ones up here, and there's a whole bunch of green ones. So all of the tomatoes are coming off the plants, and all of the plants are going to get snipped. It's kind of funny to me and a little bit ironic how healthy the plants are now that I'm ready to take them out. We had such a hard time in the greenhouse this year with bugs. There was aphids and whiteflies, and they're still pretty bad over here. Like, there's a ton of aphids and whiteflies, especially on my Romas. But look, I mean, this is the same plant. It's not all parts of the plant. They even still have some blooms, even though I'm getting ready to take them out. They're doing really well. It's kind of crazy, but I guess that's what happens sometimes. I have a theory on this, and it's about the way that I filled these raised beds. So I have quite a few other raised beds here in the greenhouse that I'm going to be filling, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently than I did for these ones initially. I'm piling up red or ripish ones here, and then the green ones are going in the basket. These are, you know, harder, so they're able to handle being on the bottom, and I can put those on top when we're done. As I'm going along, I'm feeling things hit my head, and I don't like what I know that it is. So it was just 2 days ago that I noticed that we were starting to get these weird brown, blackish, kind of granular looking things piling up on my pumpkins. I know a lot of you know what this is, but some of you don't. That's caterpillar poop. And there is so much of it all over the place under these arches. It's just littering the whole floor in here. Look at all of it. All that like black granular stuff. It's all caterpillar poop. That's because the tomato hornworms, they're here, and that's fine. Look at how bad the damage is up here. This is the cherry tomato side of the greenhouse, and there's our culprit. And there's way more than that one in here, so I am not gonna just take them off the plant and really worry about picking off hornworms right now. I'm just gonna be cutting all of these plants off at the base, and it's not like they can move really fast or far, so the peppers that I'm leaving in here will probably be fine. I don't think they're gonna be able to just migrate off of those plants onto the other ones, but I might be wrong. We'll be back in the morning to really see what happens with that. It took them a long time to get to the tomatoes this year. Got a little bit of caterpillar damage likely on that orange accordion, but they're still gorgeous. I can cut that part out, no problem. I was going to leave this bed here to see how long we could get these tomatoes and peppers into winter, but I've decided to go back on that. I did get some Belgian Giants volunteered in the kids' old garden, so I've gotten to enjoy my favorite tomato this year, so these guys are going to come out as well. To be honest, I have not really enjoyed the flavor or texture of the shishito peppers, so it doesn't make me sad to yank those out. We'll try again for Jaworskis next year. They got a late start and they're just now really putting on blooms, but I'm not sad about it really. I do have some peppers growing in ground right here, and because they're not in my way for my raised beds for the fall and winter garden, I'm just gonna leave these in because of the presence of hornworms. I probably will mix up some liquid BT and spray these guys down, but it doesn't look like the hornworms are over here. I mean, they don't look the happiest. They're not the most healthy peppers that there ever were, but it doesn't look like the hornworms have them yet. So all I've done is I've gone through here and snipped off the tomatoes at the base. So they no longer have access to water, they no longer have access to nutrition, and it will not be long before they wilt down. It's easier to remove a tomato plant from a trellis when it is dry and crispy. We're not gonna get to that point because I need them out of these beds so that I can amend them and put the fall things in here ASAP, but this is still my process. I like to leave the roots to break down in the soil and not disturb it too much. And here's our bounty, the last tomatoes of the season, at least from inside the greenhouse. Here are some of the fall and winter starts. These are broccoli, and then there's cabbage over here. I think there are some cauliflower as well. Like I think this is cauliflower, but the ones with a more like purpley hue, those are cabbage. And Jackie's not gonna eat them. Jackie's not gonna eat them. He likes mice, not green stuff, right? There we go. That's what I thought. You're gonna guard them from the birds. Good boy. Good morning. It's the next day. We are going to go back out to the greenhouse and check and see how the plants are doing, and probably fill, or at least start to fill, a bed or two in there. I left these in the cart last night, but I wanted to try some of these orange accordions. These are the first and only that I'll get to harvest from this variety this year. The plants had such a hard time earlier in the year, and I already do have my favorites from the new varieties that I grew this year. I really liked the Dr. Witchies, and I really liked the pink oxheart. Oh, wow. The inside of this one almost makes it look like it would be great for stuffing. You see how fat the outside wall is? Look at that. That's absolutely gorgeous. It's pretty, but it's not tasty. It's very bland. I'm glad I brought the salt out. Let me see if I can taste it without salt. Incredibly disappointing. I will say it's very rare for something to be both pretty and tasty. Usually you get one or the other. This one is all beauty and no flavor. But see, there's some with salt and some without salt.
I want to try what's up.
Here.
Looks good.
It does look pretty.
It tastes like a tomato.
You like it? I did not like it. You like it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, there's another one in the basket. Just cut the funny part out. See, here's the funny part. It doesn't go to the inside at all.
Good. I like it. I like it.
Okay, good. Go with the other one. Did you guys knock over your water? Hang on. All right, so starting to look pretty sad in here. These are our tomatillos. I didn't pick more from the tomatillos just because I think we're tomatilloed out. And none of us really prefer the tomatillo salsa that I made over the regular roasted salsa that I've made in the past. So we will probably grow some of these in the future, but more for fresh eating because we liked them fresh, but we just got tomatilloed out. Plants are looking pretty limp and sad. I don't know the state of our hornworms. I'm sure they're still up there. Watch out, baby. Watch out. So far, here's the germination for the things that we planted last week. So here are the lettuces. These are a romaine type lettuce. These are just in a microgreens tray. You can kind of see some of the little tiny hair roots poking down through. At a certain point, I will just water them from underneath, but the seedlings are still small, so I'm watering from the top. But we have, I believe that this side is the cabbages, the 45-day cabbages. This is the chard on this side. And over here is the spinach. Spinach looks really funny. It looks like grass when it's coming up, but we're getting some germination there, which is good. And then this was the red Russian kale on this side. So we're just starting to get a good amount of things popping up over here. Down here are the carrots that we sowed. You can see them starting to pop up. So they've done well. Look at them there. I'm gonna have to thin those out, but I'm gonna wait a few more days before I start thinning this out. I just kind of blasted these with some water, so they're laying over a little, but these are the other seedlings that I have. I never did get any of the dinosaur kale to really germinate. I don't know what's going on with them. But we do have some beets, some rutabaga, and then these are two different colors of kohlrabi. I would love to get these out of the cell trays soon because they are really outgrowing it at this point. And back there, I believe that's cauliflower. It's either cauliflower or cabbage. I didn't label anything this year. Everything needs to be about the same distance apart in the bed, and I figured it would be a fun surprise later. So as well as I'm mending a lot of the beds that are in here, I do have some beds to fill. This is one that we set in here at some point earlier in the year, and it's just kind of been hanging out here all year. We did start to clean out some of the weeds and things from around the greenhouse, and I piled those in here, as well as our refuse shishitos that I really didn't enjoy this year for whatever reason. I think I just expected more out of them. It was kind of disappointing, to be honest. And when we filled a lot of these other raised beds, what we did was layer down first hay, and then manure, and then bagged soil. This is the soil that we've been buying. It's the Kellogg's Organic Raised Bed and Potting Mix. A lot of people hate this soil. A lot of people really like it. I think that really bagged soils across the board are severely lacking, no matter where you buy them from. I have purchased tons and tons of different bagged soils have varying different prices, and honestly the ones that have worked best are the ones that have like fertilizers in them, like Miracle Grow and whatever. But we're trying to get away from that on our farm. That kind of thing worked really well for us for a really long time, but we're starting to really try to use more of what we have here. Now, we don't produce a lot of our own compost. We do produce some, so we need some kind of filler in order to bulk up what we can make here and what we can get out of our barns. And this genuinely does work well. I just can't ask my plants to grow in this exclusively. I think one of the reasons that the plants in our greenhouse kind of stalled out with their health and their growth in the beginning of the year is because of the way I layered things. when I put the plants or the seedlings just in the top layer of soil and expected them to grow roots enough to get down into the nutrition, that might have been asking too much of them. Because really, if there's not enough available nutrition, they're not going to be able to grow the roots long enough to get down into the nutrition. The plants only really started to do well when I scratched in a granular fertilizer to the top layer of soil, and then they were able to get that boost. And as soon as they got their roots down deep, I could tell the plants really started to thrive. And so I think I'd like to layer things a little bit differently. We're going to be doing either weeds or hay, some of that soil, manure, and then some more soil to kind of layer it properly to where there is nutrition higher up towards where the seedling roots are going to be when we pop those in the ground. So it was an interesting turn of events in the greenhouse just now. I got attacked by a wasp and then you died of the heat. So it's a little bit later now and I have a second layer to put in the beds, which I'm going to obtain from my barn. So this project really is helping me get two things done. It's definitely the time of year that our barn needs cleaning out and I do need to fill those raised beds. What I like to do is actually just fill buckets and tote them over to my raised beds or over to our compost pile. It seems like it would make sense to shovel the manure into a bucket or to use my husband's tractor or something like that to move the soil, but because we're going through smaller doorways, I've got this doorway here into the barn and then the doorway going into the greenhouse, it actually is more efficient to shovel into a 5 or 7 gallon bucket and then just literally use the bucket to dump it into the bed. It's less work than shoveling it into a cart and then shoveling it out of the cart again. I hope that makes sense. Hey girls, have you been locked out? Oh, it's a lot easier to clean in there when you're not underfoot, let me tell you. A few months ago, I purchased some of this bagged mushroom compost to help amend some of like the perennial garden space for me to put a couple annual things in there, and I was really impressed with it. It was only $5 per bag at our local feed store, and I've decided that I'm going to add that to the mixture here in the greenhouse. It's almost got this sandy type texture. And it's got a lot of good things and a lot of great nutrients. It holds moisture really well. I think it's a great thing to add into these beds to help boost the less than ideal bagged soil that we have. I've had a couple people ask me why we don't just get bulk compost from like a local, you know, dirt and mulch place. And we've done that before. And when we did that, we had the worst garden year that we've ever had, which I didn't really film at all. I was YouTubing in 2020, but I wasn't doing a whole lot consistently, and that was horrible. So I don't think that our local compost is super great. That was a rock in there. I don't think that our local compost is super great because we have so many farms and things around here. A lot of it is big ag, a lot of it is sprayed, and so it's just not awesome. We just have to work with what we have, and that is less than ideal bagged soil, which I think is what a lot of people have access to. So even with the best intentions and the best amendments, a first year garden space like this is not going to be as productive, efficient, hands-off. It's going to need some babying because the soil microbes haven't really had a chance to establish yet. The mycelium network of funguses and things haven't established yet. We haven't established any kind of earthworm presents and things like that in these beds. And all of that is really nice, and those things just take time to develop. The little barky bits that are in here are going to take time to break down. So this might not be the most ideal thing at first, but most first-year garden spaces are not. Everything will get so much better over time, and I look forward to all of it, the whole process. I figure if I fill a bed like this every other day, because today is the 16th that I'm filming this, that we will be right on track for my goal of getting the greenhouse planted by the 1st of October. So here's to hoping, because that's when I've got baby goats due too.
Come to my table, come to my bed, go easy my hunger, easy my head, bringing